weiß Bescheid. Entiendo.
Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Karan Rose.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as always, it's your boy, Mr. Karan Rose. And it is a pleasure to be talking to you yet again. It is Sunday, July 11, 2021, and this is the second go-around of our Sunday episodes, Sunday Motivation. This really started because the public, you, the audience, the community, has reached out to me and has always told me over the past couple of years that, you know what, they look at me as a very inspirational figure, and I never really used to take them on or really understand it, but you know, as I got a little bit older, I understand where people come from when they give me that compliment, because I don't look at myself as, you know, the type of motivator that come on and tell you, you know, a lot of these things that, you know, that motivational speakers do. It's never really been my style, but for me, I've always been motivated by the experts or the people out there that are constantly teaching. I get motivated by learning tangible and practical things. So whenever I see somebody say, hey, you know what, you could do this and here's how you can do it, you know, bam, 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 bam. And then I would go try it out for myself, you know, get results, whether it was good or bad. And, you know, even in the failures, I learned so much and I got motivated, you know, tremendously by just being able to implement immediately some of the things that people have talked about. And even when some advice didn't go the way as planned, I would later realize that some of the things failed because I was missing certain pieces, and then, you know, later on you're able to kind of piece things together, and there you go, you got a result that you can now produce. That's a positive one. And so for me, my teaching style is I like to teach a lot of how-tos. I like to give you guys the blueprint, give you guys the steps, because even if just one person, you know, takes me on and starts to implement and get a result, and then they come back and they say, listen, you just came back and saved me from you know, a lot of trouble, or hey, you were able to give me the tool that I needed, or that piece of nugget, that missing link that's now allowing me to do X, Y, and Z, and I can grow, I can provide for my family, I could do, you know, anything. That type of stuff, you know, really, it pushes me, and again, it's just glad to see that the impact is being made. So again, my motivational style, you're not going to hear me, you know, I'm not going to be the next Les Brown, I'm not going to be the next Eric Thomas, like that's just not been me, but I'm just very practical, and the fact that I can talk to you guys, give you guys very practical things, and it's helping you guys, and you guys are finding inspiration in that. Well, that's how I get motivated, and that's how I get inspired. So I'm just paying it forward, right? So today I wanted to talk about something that pops up a lot, especially now because we're in such a fast-paced society. You know, things are moving at the speed of light. You know, the pandemic here in the Caribbean still has not gone away. You know, some parts of the world are opening up. You're looking on social media, and, you know, everybody looks like it's back to normal. But here in the Caribbean, especially here in Trinidad and Tobago right now, we're still under a state of emergency. For the most part, businesses are still locked up, are still locked down. Nobody can really operate. So it's some trying times. It's definitely some trying times. And keeping motivated during these times is a task for anybody. But the topic or the question that gets brought up a lot now is, how do I defeat burnout? And whenever I get asked that question, my answer is usually not something that people typically expect to hear, because there's such a big conversation around people getting burnt out worldwide. And then there are those people that don't get burnt out. Like I was hearing a conversation with Gary Vee, and he was talking about why he doesn't get burnt out, and it really hit home, because when I take stock and when I've been asked that same question, multiple times over the years, I have never experienced burnout. It's just never happened for me. And so I want to break down why I don't get burnt out, because I think both sides of the equation, need to be heard. I think you most definitely need to hear from the people who are going through burnout, because there's lessons to learn from them. That will also help you, curve being burnt out. And then there are those people who are not getting burnt out. And I think there's some great lessons to balance out that equation. And you as the audience can take from both sides and take what you need and, dash the rest. But you guys can put it to good use. So I think I've narrowed it down for myself. There's typically 5 reasons as to why I don't get burnt out. And I've had to sit with this and, really ask myself over the years, why haven't I felt like I was about to crash? I've been in my business going hard since 2016, since I've started. And I've never come to a point where I was like, man, I'm burnt, like I'm spent, I'm crashed. A lot of the feelings that people talk about, it just hasn't happened. It hasn't happened to me, and it's been some years now. So I've taken some stock. I've looked internally to ask myself, what's going on? Why haven't we felt this burnout that people talk about? And I've come up with 5 reasons, and I think there's a 6th. I think there's definitely a 6th, and that might be the bonus. So we got 6 reasons. Number 1, the reason I don't get burnt out is I'm grounded in the mindset that I choose to do the things that I do. I don't feel pressured to do what I do. Anytime I have ever felt a pressure to do something that did not make me feel good, that is when the problems would happen. And mentally, I would always scramble to find an exit strategy. So that could take place in the form of, I guess the best example for me would be a job. There's been very few jobs that I've had in my lifetime since I started working where I truly loved the job. Loved it. There were a couple. There were some jobs that I've had where everything checked the right boxes. The company was good. I believed in the company and what they were doing and what they were offering. The team that we had was absolutely amazing. They were family. Even in times when we fought, it was, it felt like we were fighting with family. So it was never a situation where, you had a disagreement and you were never talking to each other again. You might, go 10 minutes and not talk to each other, but then something happens and you guys have to help each other out, and that kind of fixed, that little rift that happened. So I've had some jobs where the team that I worked with was absolutely amazing. And I learned a lot. and I got paid good. So it checked all the boxes for me. But when I had those jobs where there were things that it just wasn't working for me. So even if it was in a field that I liked, maybe the team wasn't good, maybe the pay wasn't good, the work conditions weren't good. There was when I've been in those positions where things just were not up to a standard that made me feel good, then my mind was always working towards an exit strategy. How on earth do I get out of here? I am not somebody that you can tell, hey, at least you have a job, just grin and bear it, better. No, I can't do that. I cannot do that. I can't do that, right? Anything that I do, I choose to do. So even me applying for a job, I chose to apply to that job. Me staying there at that job for however long, I choose to stay there. But you see, when the situation does not make me feel good, right? I am not going to stick and bear it. I'm not going to stick it out. I'm going to find an exit strategy and put myself in a better position. And that has helped me so much. Just understanding that, hey, you choose to be here. Because, and again, I'm using the job is something that I'm using as an example. When you have the colleagues that are there and they're constantly complaining this, that, and the third, and they're doing it for years and years and years, and all they do is complain how much they dislike or they don't like what's going on, whatever. And you're sitting there listening to them, and it's like, but bro, sis, like no one's forcing you to come here. We all have bills, we all have responsibilities, but you could still go find other ways to earn. You don't have to be here. So for me, the mindset that, listen, whatever you do in this life, you choose it. Whether it is your partner, you chose your partner. Where you live, you choose to live it. I mean, unless it's like some really different or difficult circumstances that, you were placed in that place where you're living. Everybody's situation is different. But, for the most part, for the vast majority, almost everything that we do is a choice. Almost everything that we do is a choice. And having that mindset that you choose this, you have the power to make any decision that you want, and you choose to do this, has helped me. Because whenever things did not feel good, in my mind, hey, you need to figure out how to get out of this situation and put yourself in a better position. Because I'm not going to stay in any situation that doesn't make me feel good. Because listen, when you are there is nothing more life-sucking, nothing more life-draining than being in situations where you don't feel good in. It doesn't matter if it's friendships, you choose to be amongst those groups of people. We don't choose our family, but you can choose whether or not you're going to spend time with them or how much you're going to be involved with them. You choose your boundaries. You choose what you enforce. Life is a series of decisions. We are making hundreds of decisions a day. So when you ground yourself that everything that you do is your choice, not somebody else's, it's your choice, there is a level of power and freedom that comes with that. So now, being in my situation where, I can look at everything that I'm doing, everything that has happened for me thus far, and know that, you chose all of this. You chose to do all of this that you are doing. There is the level of power. There is a level of freedom. There is a calmness that comes over me. And that point, this first reason is just one of the biggest reasons for me why I've just never gotten to a point where I've ever felt like, wow, I can't do this. I feel like I'm crashing. It's because every single time where I felt like, hey, I'm in something that does not make me feel good. Yeah, but you chose this. So let's choose an alternate route. And I get back to feeling good again. I get back to being motivated. I get back to choosing to do this. So being the online business strategist in the Caribbean, working with Caribbean entrepreneurs in the region and diaspora, podcasting and putting out all this content, blogging, building websites, coaching, doing everything that I'm doing. People ask, how are you not getting burnt out? You're doing the absolute most. Even worse when people find out I'm a one-man show. I do everything myself. The only thing I don't do for myself is take my photos and any of the produced videos that you guys see. My live streams I do for myself. But any of the produced videos that you guys see, I don't do that. I choose people to go and work with, and I choose to work with the guys that I work with because I love working with them, and it's a joy to do it, right? But I do everything for myself because, again, I have fun in it, and I choose to do it. So, lesson number 1 is grounding yourself in that mindset that you choose to do the things that you are doing. And whatever you feel like is not serving you, you have the power to make a completely different choice, to put your entire life on a different track. And if you can internalize that message, life gets to be so much more fulfilling. I almost said easy, but life isn't easy. We all go through our ups and downs, but anything worthwhile definitely comes through hard work. But that hard work gets to be fun. That hard work gets to be fulfilling. It ain't easy. It ain't easy to do a lot of the things that we are doing. But that hard work gets to be fun. It gets to be fulfilling. You get to choose which hard you pick. And again, that mindset alone is so gratifying. The second reason why I don't get burnt out is I give myself permission to take a break. I am absolutely quite okay with Netflixing all day. If the motivation to do something else is not there for me, I'm good. Before, I used to force it. Like, I know I have to do this. I have. There was always this pressure that I put on myself, or there was external forces that put pressure on me to get things done. And, it can create some anxiety. It can create, it can create a different type of feeling inside of you, one that does not feel good. And so I'm perfectly okay with Netflixing all day. And after that time of Netflix, I have no guilt. So I take breaks when needed. If I am not feeling like doing whatever I need to do for that day, if the motivation just is not there, I give myself the permission to take that break. Because the work is never going to finish, folks. The work is never going to finish. The work is always going to be there. It is always going to be there. And as a creator, when you're putting out content, the minute you put yourself out there, the audience begins to expect content. They begin to expect it and expect at a high rate. So one of the reasons why I never post, or I've never set like a specific date for when my content drops, is because I would never adhere to it. I would never adhere to a deadline. I would never adhere to a schedule. I can't. Because I do not know how I'm going to feel tomorrow. And when I work on projects, there are deadlines that come, and I'm very cognizant of that. So I'll make sure to get, what I need to get done in that time. But guess what? I choose the projects I work with. I'm not doing any project that doesn't light me up. So it makes it so much easier to if I do work on a project and I do, a deadline does get set, it makes it easier to follow through and get it done because I chose to do that project. And when I don't want to do a particular project, or if a client reaches out or people reach out and want to work with me, you have the choice whether to work with them or not. There have been times where, man, I've been broke and money was on the table. People wanted to work with me or bring me on a project or whatever. And I was like, nah, this ain't it. This is headache. This is stress. This is stress. I will just be broke. I will just go and eat a tin of tuna and some couscous or quinoa, or bread. If times are really hard, I am okay with doing that than taking on a project that is going to disturb my entire mental peace. I will not do it. Being able to wake up and say, today feels like a Netflix day. And being okay with binging. I'm okay with that because when I'm in my mood to create, which is often, I create at a very high level. When I'm in my mood to do work, I work. When I'm in my mood to work, when I'm feeling creative, I'm going to work. And my output's going to be ridiculously high. And I might wake up 6 days, 7 days, 10 days straight, and I am highly motivated to work every single day. But then guess what? There may be a stretch of 3 or 4 days where there is no motivation to do work. And I am okay with Netflixing. I'm okay with reading. I'm okay with just unwinding and not doing work. But it's the permission to do that that's important, because there are those who will look on social media and see these posts about, not sleeping, hustling 24/7, looking at what other people are doing, and then they start to feel guilty that, wow, I have no motivation to do this work. And look at everybody else. Everybody else is going hard. What's wrong with me? Why can't I, just get this piece of work out? And then they feel guilty for Netflixing. They feel guilty for reading or feel guilty for sleeping all day. And so that is a change of mindset that needs to happen, right? Giving yourself the permission to take a break, realizing that, it's okay. Not every day you are going to be motivated to work. And it is okay to not work. Even when you have a 9 to 5, we are seeing more people trying to figure out how to become a remote worker because your mental health is on the line. And some of you guys are working in some extremely toxic work environments. You have your responsibilities, no problem. And the days where you feel like you have nothing to give that workplace and you still show up, because at that point, some of you guys are even guilting yourselves to show up. There's a big quote that gets shared on social media, and it's usually quoted from Jet Li. I don't know if he's the original person who said it, but Jet Li is usually the one that gets shared, where he's like, take that break because your job is going to replace you if you're dead. They're going to replace you within a day if you die. So take that break. But the mindset for taking a break is that it's okay to take the break. You need to be able to give yourself permission to take the break. Remember, you choose the life that you are building. So even if you are working in stressful environments, you are choosing to work there. It is a choice. And there is nobody can come and say that, I have no choice. I have to work. No, you have a choice. You chose the field, you chose the school to go to, you chose the courses, you chose to apply to that workplace. You are choosing to stay there because you could make other choices. You could choose to learn new skills. You could choose to work in a different department, or at least apply for it, or choose to work in a different company. Go back to my first point. When you can ground yourself in that mindset that everything is a choice, there is a level of freedom, because now life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. Give yourself permission to take a break. Reason number 3 why I do not get burnt out. Keep stock of the activities that bring you joy. So, one of my favorite activities is to listen to reggae concerts. I turn up the music, I sing, I dance, and that goes on for hours. And when I'm done, I feel rejuvenated. And there are so many times, I think, as a matter of fact, usually when I'm working, I have a reggae concert going on, and I could be working and I'll take a break and I will sing and dance for 2 hours. I'll grab the remote and I'm singing, and for the next hour or 2 hours I'm Damian Marley and I'm singing. And I jump back in my chair and the concert's still going on and I'm back hard at work, rejuvenated, ready to continue putting in the work. Find the activities that bring you joy, that release your stress, and do them often. Find the activities that bring you joy, release your stress, do them often. So when you guys see me on my IG stories and I'm singing away, singing at the top of my lungs, and I'm dancing without any care in the world, and I'm dancing like nobody is watching, understand that that's an activity that brings me joy. And sometimes I allow people to just take a glimpse at some of my personal life and some of the things that I do in my own little time. I'm okay with just singing, dancing to my favorite songs, taking that break, going back to work, and I am more motivated and rejuvenated to just start to punch the clock and get back to work. And when I am motivated, when I'm rejuvenated, when I'm happy, that's when you guys get the best work from me. That's when I'm at my most creative, when I'm having all the fun in the world. You know, in 2 weeks, we're on, this is episode 11 right now. And in 2 weeks, pushing out 11 episodes, and every episode has been an hour of like 45, 50 minutes. I've already been asked, how are you putting out so many podcasts? How are you still blogging? How are you doing social media posts? How are you doing workshops? How are you doing all it? Listen, it's because I choose to do this. I give myself permission to take breaks. And I have activities that bring me joy, that pour into me. I'm not even waiting for people to pour into me. I pour into myself. Or maybe you could say, Damian Marley or Chronics is pouring into me, because typically Chronics or Damian Marley or Busy Signal or Bounty Killer, their concerts are usually blaring in the background, and I'm singing and I'm dancing, and I feel like I'm being rejuvenated. So I guess you could say that, the music is pouring into me. Take stock of the activities that bring you joy, that release your stress. Do them often. Reason number 4 why I don't get burnt out. I create in ways that light me up. So I never get bored with what I do because I am always experimenting in different ways. I know the things that are tried and true that get me results, but sometimes I need to take a break from them and experiment to keep my own creative juices flowing. So I will tell everybody, I am a blogger first. I love to write, and I love to write because it's just me. I don't have to, get dressed up. I could, be in my track pants. I could have my hoodie all the way over my head. Music blaring. Don't got to talk to nobody. And I can blog. But sometimes the blogging gets dull for me too. But I understand the importance of it. Because there's the technology side of how the search engines work and how your websites, rank on Google and yada, yada, yada. So I know the benefits of it, and I know why I need to have a website and create content on the platform. I know that I have to do those things, right? And most times I'm very motivated to do it. But when I'm not, and it feels like it's getting stale, then I need to find other ways to get my message across and create and experiment for my own sanity, to keep my own creative juices flowing. So when you see me doing, all of these different things with live streams, now we have the podcast. When you see me doing all of these different things, even when my social media content looks and feels completely different than what you would have seen, maybe months prior or whatever. Understand that I am always experimenting because I need to do it for me, for my own mental health and sanity within my business. And as long as I'm keeping things interesting in my business, that means I'm learning because I have to learn how to live stream. I have to learn how to podcast. I got to learn how to use all of these different tools and make them work together. And then the output that you get is different. And it feels like, hey, this guy is producing at such a volume rate, and it's always quality. It's because I'm always experimenting. And the only way to experiment with these tools is to produce. And so when you guys are seeing live streams, podcasts, social media posts that look and feel different, when you're seeing all of these things coming out of the high rate, it's because I'm experimenting. I'm figuring out what works. I'm learning. I'm doing courses. I'm watching hundreds of hours of YouTube videos to learn how to do these things. So I'm learning, I'm implementing, I'm producing, and it looks on the outside like, wow, this guy is a machine. This guy is constantly producing at such a ridiculous rate. And it's because for my own mental health and for me to not be bored in my own business, I need to experiment. I need to find different ways to create my message and find different ways to connect to you. And that's critical because doing one thing over and over and over again, at some point it gets boring. I've been blogging since 2016. 2021 has been... This has been the year where I don't think I've blogged nearly as much this year as all of the other years. This year, I've given myself the permission to experiment. We're doing, I started doing live streams last year, but this year, I'm doing it differently. The podcast is new. I'm doing that differently. Even the content that I create for social is different. So I give myself the permission to experiment. Still having a lot of fun. I know what got me here, and I know the importance of all of those, of the strategies, my blogging, I know how important those things are. But for the sake of my own creativity and my own, boredom and mental health, giving myself permission to experiment and, sometimes, the blogs will take a back seat. And let me go do something else. Let me go and get motivated over here. And then what ends up happening is you start to experiment and learn so much that you start to skill stack. And now you can start to put all these things together. So, now I have, websites. I have, I can blog and do my write-ups, optimize them for SEO. I can embed my videos onto that. I can embed my podcasts onto the websites. And you just start to stack all of these skills and they all come together. And when they all come together, you just start to get more traction for your brand. Because all of these things come together. So give yourself permission to experiment, to keep your creative juices flowing, and do the things that light you up. Right now, podcasting lights me up. I love it. I have a lot of fun doing it. And it reminds me of when I first started blogging, where again, I can come into my room, turn on some moody lights with my Philip Hue plays, whatever my mood is in, I turn the color of those lights to. I'm in a hoodie, hood's over my head, and I got the mic, and I can just talk and create. And I don't have to, doll myself up or prepare myself in a way where I have to interact with people on that level. It's a different level of energy for me when I have to do live streams or I have to do interviews or workshops where I actually have to engage with people versus when I can just blog and it's just me and I'm in my zone. And even with podcasting, I'm just in my zone right now. So create in the ways that light you up. The fifth reason why I don't get burnt out. And this is a big one. Solve the problems that you are passionate about or that you're skilled in. It makes such a huge difference, a really huge difference, when you know that you are contributing to a cause, when you know that your business is a mission-based business. Let me tell you something. The grind is different. The motivation you have is different. The impact you make is different. The feedback you receive starts to fuel you at a core level. It makes it that much more gratifying to wake up and serve your space. When you know you are contributing to a cause and your business is a mission-based business, it makes all the difference. And it doesn't matter what your business is, but if mentally you make that switch in your mind that this business I'm building is on a mission, the grind is different. And again, like I said, it does not matter what the business is. The business could be baking. But the reason you are on this mission in baking is because baking might have been therapy for you. And so when you bake your goods, you're baking because this is therapy for you. And maybe the additional benefit to the baking being therapy for you is you being able to put some joy in other people's lives when they come into your bakery. And everybody knows when you walk into a good bakery, you open that door, you smell, you take that deep breath, and you're like, wow, what on earth am I going to eat today? Hey, Marsha, that bread fresh out the oven? And Marsha says, yes. And now come out the oven. You're like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to get this home and slap some butter on it. Heck, the bread might be so fresh, I might not even wait. I might just eat it right here on the spot and have that bread melt in my mouth. And it reminds me of when I was a child and Granny used to make this bread for me. And you take me to a whole new experience, just bringing me back into my childhood days. And you, the one that has made that bread, might just see that person's reaction when they eat that bread. And you're like, yo, I was able to touch somebody. I was able to bring that person to a happy place. And if that's that mission for you, you know, the baking is therapy for you, and you want to have your baked goods take people back into childhood. And when you see the satisfaction on your customers' faces, that's a mission. That mission makes everything different. It makes the reason why you wake up every morning to hit that bakery, it makes it different. Because now it's not just about you. You're in it to help people enjoy themselves, to make people happy. It makes it easier to wake up and want to serve your community. I ain't gonna lie. You know how many times I've wanted some fresh coconut rolls from a local bakery, and I've gone and I've seen the bakery close, and it felt like my whole world collapsed. Like, how could Miss Marsha do this to me on Sunday morning? Oh Lord, what am I gonna do without this coconut roll today? What am I going to do without this? I trekked. I took a taxi. I walked. I came all the way to the bakery. And that bakery is closed. And now I feel like the world is going to collapse. When your business is a mission-based business, you have an impact at a whole different level. For me, my mission is to help Caribbean entrepreneurs take their businesses online so they could participate in the global economy so that they can become self-reliant. We don't need to wait for the handouts. We don't need to wait for the government to give us things. We don't need to wait for, people to in our community to see our worth and see our value. When we can take our businesses online and we could participate in the global economy, my ideal client might be in Russia, wanting to learn how to make these infamous doubles that comes from Trinidad. Your ideal client might be out there. And you might, as much as you might be cooking in for the local community and serving the goods, but you could have an online school or ebooks or an online course or a cookbook, and people all over the world can purchase either access to your membership site or your digital course, or purchase your ebook, or purchase your hardcover book off of Amazon, and they could be in a different part of the world. And somebody in Sydney, Australia could be watching sharks and eating doubles that they made at home and took to the beach. Yeah, boy, this recipe I got from Marsha's cookbook from some country in the Caribbean called Trinidad and Tobago. Hey, mate. She makes these things called doubles, and these doubles taste really good. The recipe is really good. It's, I followed it to a T, and here we are. We have doubles. Now look at them crocs. Look at them dingoes. And they're in Australia eating your doubles. And you've now made money You have now made sales for your digital products. So in a time like this where the restaurants are closed and you can't actually be out on the corner selling your baked goods or selling your doubles, there are digital products that could have been created that people in other parts of the world could have purchased from you, and you would have still been able to make money. And again, we would not have been relying on the government to open back the restaurants or things here so that we can continue to do business. There are so many ways to earn money right now. So for me, my mission is to help people see that there are people that are still making money. And they're making money from their own kitchen. Restaurant closed, cool, no problem. Well, everybody's home. Everybody needs to learn how to cook. Now is the time to start a YouTube channel. And let me learn how to make that YouTube money. Let me learn how to make that affiliate marketing money. Let me learn how to make that ebook money. And then by the end of the pandemic or when everything opens back up, you could have built this online community. And when we can start to hang out in groups again, now I'm teaching sip and cooking lessons. And then because I now have this popular sip and cook event, people want to interview me and they're like, how did you grow this business during the pandemic when everything was closed? So this is why, for me, my mission is I want Caribbean people to see the bigger picture digitally. Because if we can see the bigger picture digitally, then we wouldn't have this reliance on the government. Yes, they're responsible to do some things, but there's a lot of things that we could take into our own hands. This is the first time in our lifetime where we have the technology and all of the tools needed to be digital and to earn money from anywhere in the world. We have everything. It doesn't matter. You might hear people say, oh, we don't have the necessary tools. They don't know. They don't know better. We in the Caribbean have everything we need. It's just a lack of knowledge now of what's available to us and how to put it all together. Because we have everything we need in the Caribbean. Except we just don't have the knowledge about what is available to us and how to put it all together. Because half the time, we in the Caribbean are going to people that are working for companies who are not entrepreneurs and understand the importance of some of the products and services that their company sells, and then they don't know, because they're not entrepreneurs, the strategies to put it all together. So that's my mission. Whatever your business is, if you can make that mindset switch to turn it into a mission-based business, regardless of what it is, everything else will hit different. You'll show up different. Your motivation will be different. The impact that you make will be different. The feedback you receive will be different, and it will start to fuel you at a whole different level. And the gratification to wake up every day and to serve your community is going to be different. Those are my top 5 reasons why I don't get burnt out. The 6th reason is a bonus, because it's not something that might apply for everybody, but specifically for me, the 6th reason why I don't get burnt out is I grew up in Canada, Toronto, Canada. I have moved to a place where people vacation. And Caribbean people might never understand that. But when you grew up in New York, the UK, you grew up in Canada, you grew up in the US, when you grew up in these first world countries, and you get 2 weeks of vacation, well, usually we spend our 2 weeks in the Caribbean. And so moving to a place where people vacation hits different. Because even though I live here and I work here, I'm getting my vitamin D. I get to see the palm trees. For the first time in my life, I'm walking through, Bamboo Cathedral, and I'm seeing wild monkeys, and I'm like, my goodness. The new place I moved to, the tenants here, like, yo, hey, we get iguanas, we get manacus, we've even gotten some red howler monkeys that run up on the patio and stuff like that. I'm like, my goodness, if I leave my computer on the patio and a monkey steals my laptop or my phone, I'm going to turn Tarzan. I'm going to start swinging through the trees and go after them. But just even just being able to be in that environment for me has brought me a level of peace that I've never had living in Canada. I've always felt that whenever I visited Trinidad, every time I came off the plane, I would always say, wow, I'm home. I'm back home. And whenever I had to leave, it was always, damn, back to the plantation. And I know many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters can relate to that. They come home to Jamaica. They come home to St. Kitts. They come home to Antigua, Barbados, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Vincent. They come home and they say, I'm home. And then they leave and they say, wow, it's back to the real world, back to the plantation. It hits different when you live in a place where people vacation. So, those are my reasons why I don't get burnt out. I hope that my reasons can provide you with some insights. I hope there's something that you can take from my take on why I don't get burnt out. And again, this is not to discredit anybody that is feeling burnt out. And even when you hear people talking about, how they're getting burnt out and why they're getting burnt out, there are lessons there too. So listen to them, take what you need to help you guys avoid, similar fates. And then you have another perspective that you guys can take what you guys need and put it together and make it your own. But those are my 6 reasons why I don't get burnt out. That is my Sunday motivation for you this week. I hope to see you guys in our next episode. This week is going to be a lot of fun. Take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Karan Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Karan Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.